So then here's my question. So you both write plays, but you write other stuff too. There's a lot of stuff to write out there. There are television, films, and novels, and books, and comic books, and all kinds of things. But why theater? Like, why do you? Because obviously you're busy doing other stuff, and you do other stuff that maybe pays more money sometimes. But why do you keep writing for theater? And why did you begin writing?
I think we should switch it.
All right. I mean, I guess for me, like, I just had this question asked most recently, because I'm exploring other options as a writer. But what I always say is the reason why I keep writing theater is I actually have a mission. I actually feel like I have a mission to write, and that's a huge difference than when I'm trying to write, for television or some other medium. That I know what I try to do to help the medium. That when we started doing Vampire Cowboys years ago, it didn't feel like the stuff that Crystal and I were doing, and Mac Rogers now, and James Francois and all those guys are doing. They didn't feel like there was a platform for it. And as Robert and I can attest, we had a lot of mentors that told us that to pursue this avenue of writing, kind of pop culture, genre-specific theater was a dead-end road. No one would ever fucking do it. You'll never get reviewed. You'll never find an audience. It's like a one-night party thing that you'll never become a career for you. And so, being the brash artists that both Robert and I we're like, fuck you, we're going to start a goddamn theater. And so we started to do this, and what started out as a rebellious thing for both of us started to become a thing where we realized we were doing more than just telling stories that were funny to us. We were seeing that people that were coming to the shows were getting connected to the material in a way they felt like they weren't getting connected to other theater, or how theater wasn't for them. They would come and, the geeks that I always said that before, anyone would give me a grant, the geeks were the ones who gave me a career, because they were the ones who came to my shows and paid for my tickets and allowed us to have a production budget to have the next show. And they felt like that we were writing for them, which we were. And so that mission to tell their stories kept us going. Like, on the surface, we're always about to, making the rude joke and the uncomfortable racist remark that would make people laugh and like go, what are they doing up there? But the underbelly of it all is two guys that basically still want to tell these really good stories that embody our world of geek, of multiracial and people of color, women, gays and lesbians. And we were putting it out there in this form that we were kind of camouflaging the fact that we were pushing the conversation forward. That we were going, hey, you just watched an Asian American lesbian superhero defeat vampires, and everyone was like, yeah, that's a great lesbian female super. Whoa, that's a different type of superhero that ever was there before. And suddenly that was part of their makeup of how they viewed the world. To see a show that, like Alice in Slashland we're working on, it can easily be done with nothing but white actors or black actors, but we purposely always cast it as multiracial as possible to show you the world that we live in on the subway train. And yet we would go to other theaters, and we, constantly doing this, we became very engrossed in this world of ideal, we all get along, kumbaya. And sometimes we would forget that was special, and then we'd go work on other projects and other shows. Because as our careers built, we had those opportunities, and we'd walk through those doors, and suddenly they were asking me to write the all-Asian play again. So to have Robert do the all-white, adaptation of something, great, but to realize, but to realize that work hasn't been completed, that we still have a voice and a place in this community to embolden the outsiders, as well as to celebrate this kind of unity that I said community of Vampire Cowboys and downtown, because it's not just Vampire Cowboys, it's all the people who've been at the saloon and all the people we've been working with for years. And so that's what keeps me going. I didn't know what the fucking question was.
Those are just questions we know. The answer's
for me, I'm addicted to stage time. I'm addicted, and it's, I think, I love comic books too, obviously. I think Fred's comic books the best. I have to say that Archer and Armstrong is amazing. It's my favorite. But we talked about this, first dates. Wow, let's go back. But we, really comics are stories told within a certain amount of space and time, and so is theater. And I think they're very, that obviously storyboarding is part of the process with filmmaking. For me, what I think is the most adventurous, and takes it a step further even with theater, is there's this contract. You can't put down the book. Ask people to come, and it's beat to beat. Whatever the given circumstances are, whatever this reality is, whether it's 3 reality TV show writers going crazy and we're in their heads, or it's Geek, which is we're at this con with these 2 girls who want to meet this woman more than anything, and their lives are falling away. I have to keep them moment to moment, and that means I'm creating a reality that works within stage time, which can only exist in stage time, but yet has to be true of the world and has to capture that truth. Yet it's fiction, and I think that is the greatest challenge a writer can have. Because again, I want the audience to be there in every moment. It doesn't mean they have to be. I want them to be emotional, but however they experience that journey is up to them. But I think even as a kid, I would watch the audiences a lot. Like I was kind of always obsessed with, where people are with it or not. So for me, that challenge is just, and those different ways to solve how stage time works and being inventive with that, and using theatrical ideas, which you guys do so much that I got to play with in the saloon, and I got inspired by you guys in the saloon and from all your wonderful shows, which I always saw on my birthday. I don't know if we run for my birthday with Geek this year, but maybe we do. April 2nd. But that's been a tradition for a long time. But yeah, for me, that's why I do it. And also at the same time, when I was writing, for me, the mission kind of became, or certainly, at first it was a little bit of despair, I've got to be quite honest, because I like stories, because I wanted real characters that go through a journey and have, there are consequences and stuff. And at the time that I was writing, what was kind of more in fashion was a lot more what I call the whimsical plays. They were beautiful and really stylistic and really wonderfully, some of my favorite plays. But they weren't, I wanted to actually tell stories, and I wanted, and so I found that has come back into fashion, but it wasn't at the time. And I think I realized after my play The Vigil got done, The Vigil, now I think it's done a little bit faster, but that took a few years, that took like 6 years, and I was working on it the whole time. And finally the right person heard about it, and finally the culture caught up to that play, because it went between medieval time period and torture, sleep deprivation torture, and sleep deprivation torture present day. And it wasn't until the newscasters started saying, oh my God, this waterboarding stuff? It kind of reminds me of way back then. It's crazy. And all of a sudden people are like, I hear this play that does that. And I was consciously realized, if you're passionate, like your mission, put it out there, do what you want to do. And it's okay if people aren't with you at the moment, if you know you're right and you know that this is going to pave a path. Go on that path. You need to create those paths so that other theater artists and other people telling stories that mean something can maybe find that path and use it and kind of help them on their way. And I realized everyone does catch up with you eventually. Some plays hit right away, and that's like, wow, that's what I want to see right now. Sometimes people are like, oh man, that's awesome. It's as long as you're passionate about it and doing the work, people will come. It's like, I don't really like Field of Dreams, but it's true. If you go, they come. It's like crazy. They come out of the bushes.
Rob, what's your favorite movie of all time?
Star Wars.